Hey, beautiful people. How's it going? Um, Hang on just a minute. Ah, there we go. Alrighty. How's everyone doing today? So, today we're going on in the rabbi's book, and of course, I throw in my own 2 cents and my own knowledge along with what the rabbi says. So, it's not just you're hearing what the rabbi says. So, yeah. Anyway, today we are covering the Catholic Church and the Talmud. And apparently, the Catholic Church didn't find out about the Talmud until a lot later. So, anyway, let's see what they did with it, shall we? The reason I say the Catholic Church is because it's basically the only show in town for Christianity for like a while. Like before the Catholic Church, yeah, there were differing um, cults of Christianity, but then the church, you know, got together and yada, yada, yada. And like I said, it was the only game in town. Um, that was in the Western Empire. In the Eastern Empire, it was different. You had Orthodoxy and all that, but I'm not going to get into that. Alrighty. So, um, during the Middle Ages, the Catholic Church solidified its reign over Western Christendom, and the remarkable growth of Western Christianity from 1000 CE onward led a large number of Jews to be absorbed into the Christian conquests by the Christian conquests rather, and attracted by the civilization's dynamic expansion and development. In other words, and this gets my goat a lot. Um, in other words, the Jews are basically forced into convert, or that's the nice way to put it. You know, they don't want to, the church doesn't want to say, well, we did this, 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 and this. I mean, come on. That would be admitting your failures. And who the hell does that except honest people, right? So, when a larger number of Jews became incorporated into Christendom, Christendom then began to be more familiar with the Jewish ways and their religion and practices and all of that. Um, but they weren't really, and to tell you the honest truth, the Christians still aren't, most Christians aren't really concerned with what other people think. They're just not. You do have open-minded Christians, but I'm talking about the kind of Christian I grew up as, the evangelical, the one who's closed-minded to just about everything. Um, so, um, so during the Middle Ages, the Christians became aware of the Talmud, and this became a tool in the church's toolbox. And yes, I do mean tool, um, because that's exactly how they used it. I guess you could say a weapon, but tomato, tomato. Um, and this discovery of the Talmud made the church revamp its policy toward the Jews in the lands where the church was, you know, dominant. Hey, scapegoat, not much. Just getting started. Okay, so up until the Middle Ages, Augustine's points had set the tone. The Jews could be subjected to legal and civil constraints, but they were not to be killed. Gee, how very, very thoughtful. You know what? We don't agree with them. They don't share our religion, but we really shouldn't kill them. How very, very compassionate of you to do that. So, Augustine reasoned that the Jews, while they were blind to, willingly blind, that's another thing. Christians think Jews are willingly blind to the fact that Jesus is the Messiah or was the Messiah or whatever the fuck ever. But anyway, um, uh, they did adhere to Tanakh. And up until that time, the Christians were like, okay, they adhere to Tanakh. So, whether or not we really like them or not, we're going to put pressure on them, but we're not really going to do anything other than put monetary pressure on them. Ooh. So, anyway, sorry about that. So, it wasn't until the Christians encountered the Talmud in the Middle Ages that Augustine's doctrine came into question over what the church should do with the Jews. It was now apparent that the church had not taken into account the looming presence of the Talmud or the fact that this constituted a monumental and perhaps insurmountable impediment to Jewish conversion. In other words, when the church discovered the Talmud, it felt compelled to reconsider its attitude toward the Jews. Not exactly sure why, but I guess we're going to get there. By the way, I don't know a whole lot about the Talmud. In 1236, a Jew converted to Christianity named Donan, and he appeared at the papal court. Years later, Donan was excommunicated from the Jewish ghetto of Paris in the presence of the whole community. And after that, he rejoined Catholicism in after 10 years and lived out his life as a Franciscan monk. So Donan's first act of retaliation against the Jews was to stir up some crusaders. Yeah, we're talking about that time. In Brittany, Poitou, and Anjou, in which Jews were, while 500 accepted baptism so they wouldn't get. And by the way, if you've got a forced baptism, it's not conversion, dude. Come on. I don't know why it's so hard for people to understand that you either convert or you don't. There's no forced conversion. You can go through the motions, but, you don't choose your beliefs. Okay? You're either convinced by your beliefs, you're either convinced by the arguments, if, in fact, you have a brain, but you're either convinced by the arguments or you're going to be led around by your nose for the rest of your life. And if you choose to be led around by the nose for the rest of your life, but then that's not my problem now, is it? You forfeited your right to think. If you have decided that you're going to be led along by the nose for the rest of your life, you have forfeited your right to think. And until you wake up, smell the coffee, and decide, you know what? It's my right to think. Don't give me any bullshit. Okay? Don't give me any bullshit. Okay. Um. So, in 1239, Pope Gregory IX sent, by way of Nicholas Donan, to the bishops and also to the kings, because remember, during this time, the kings of Europe were actually beholden to the Pope and not the other way around. So anyway, Pope Gregory was like, we got to do something about the Talmud. So he sent to the kings of England and France and all this shit, and the bishops and everybody. He said, "Look, we got to rip this Talmud up." And these letters um, addressed the church leaders to scrutinize the books of the Jews, the ones that were not part of the canon. I don't even know if there was a canon at this time, but there probably were at least books in, the Catholic libraries. So, and when I say I don't know if there was a canon at the time, what I mean is, I'm talking about Orthodox versus Catholic versus whatever, you know. The canon was decided in the Council of shit. Just went out my brain. Wasn't the Council of Nicaea? Trent. Council of Trent. That's when the canon was decided for the Christian church. This directive commanded that all books of the Jews were to be confiscated on the first Sabbath of Lent in the following year, while the Jews attended their synagogue services and transferred to the friars for safekeeping. Safekeeping. Yeah, put that in quotes. Safekeeping. More like they were going to burn them, or the alternative, put them in a dusty old library, and so they never see the light of day again. In the decade following, many copies of the Talmud were publicly burned. And what's that old saying, when books started being burned, living things will follow? I'm trying to get around YouTube's, just a thought. Pablo Cristiani, however, adopted the opposite approach to exploiting the Talmud than Donin. The major innovation of Pablo Cristiani was his realization that the rabbinic sources could actually be twisted to make the case for Christendom. Unlike arguments made by Donin that the Talmud had to be destroyed because it contained unspeakable blasphemies against Mary and Jesus and was the impediment of the conversion of the Jews to Christianity, Cristiani claimed that the passages of the Talmud and other rabbinic literature proved that Jesus was the divine Messiah. Well, you know what? Christianity had the better option. No, seriously, he had the better option. You catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Anyway, I think that's going to be all I do for today. Uh, if you would, excuse me, if you would, hit the like, leave a comment. It helps the algorithm. If you would like to help this channel grow and become better, you can become a member for as little as 99 cents a month. Don't even think about it if you are not financially secure. At any rate, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you whenever. Bye bye.